Many people divide things into the East and the West. And then some people go further and say this side is bad, or this side is backwards, or this side is better. But I think generalizing and forming narratives like these misses the nuance. Ideas may have generated in certain regions with a specific cultural or religious context, but that doesn't mean it can't be applied elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. We all face human problems, and many of these ideas are formulated to address those human problems. The philosophy of Stoicism addresses some of these problems and focuses on control and virtue. The Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu text, also talks about control and virtue, just spoken a bit differently. These two philosophies can complement each other and enrich the lives of practitioners in either group, despite how much many people want to divide and separate the East and the West. Many readers of Stoicism may encounter this seeming contradiction within the philosophy, and it goes something like this. Stoicism tells us that we should take inventory over what we can control and what we can't. To generalize, we have control over our own actions and our own thoughts. However, we don't have control over external events and the outside world. This belief could lead one to a life of inaction and perhaps even selfishness. However, Stoicism also advocates for a life of virtue, specifically the four virtues of wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. But it's that last one, justice, that really sticks out. Because doesn't justice deal with other people? Doesn't it deal with the outside world? But Stoicism tells us that we don't have control over the outside world. But it also says we should pursue the virtue of justice? How can we solve this apparent contradiction? Well, Stoicism does provide an answer for this if you read deep enough, but you can also find a very fitting answer within the Bhagavad Gita. But since this channel is mainly a philosophy channel and not a religious one, let me give a quick introduction to this Hindu text. The Gita is just one part of a larger epic text known as the Mahabharata. People compare the Mahabharata to something like the Iliad, but for the Hindu religion. So when you read the Gita, you're kind of thrown into a specific story within a larger story. The story here focuses on Prince Arjuna and his charioteer and spiritual advisor Krishna. A big battle is about to begin between the Pandavas, which Prince Arjuna is a part of, and the Kauravas. To make a long story short, the Kauravas are trying to unethically hold the throne, while the Pandavas are trying to put the right person on the throne. The problem is that many on each side are family members. You got brothers and uncles on each side about to face each other, and this leads Arjuna to have second thoughts about fighting in this battle, because he's going to be going to war against other family members. And yeah, the other side has been acting unjustly, but really it's just over a throne dispute. Is it really worth it to kill other family members over political power? As Arjuna says, though they are overpowered by greed and see no evil in destroying families or injuring friends, we see these evils. Why shouldn't we turn away from this sin? This is where Krishna engages in a dialogue with Prince Arjuna, because as his spiritual advisor, Krishna is a pretty wise guy. Krishna is essentially trying to convince Arjuna to go into battle, but the dialogue touches on larger, more universal issues. One of the issues Arjuna is facing is whether action or inaction is better. After all, why not just don't do anything? Isn't that a valid option? Krishna responds, one who shirks action does not attain freedom. No one can gain perfection by abstaining from work. Indeed, there is no one who rests for even an instant. All creatures are driven to action by their own nature. So this is the first connection we can make with Stoicism. Krishna is saying that no one can escape acting. Even attempting to a life of non-action includes a conscious choice to do so, and a maintenance of that lifestyle. So it's not non-action we should look for. Fulfill all your duties. Action is better than inaction. Even to maintain your body, Arjuna, you are obliged to act. Now one might object, saying that Stoicism still says we don't have control over the outside world, so there's no point in acting even if it is for justice. The thing is, Krishna actually agrees that outside events are ultimately outside our control. We can't guarantee that our actions will result in the consequences that we want. However, Krishna doesn't see this as an excuse for non-action. In fact, Krishna urges us to act even in the face of uncertainty. Because here's the thing, why is it bad to act even when the effect is uncertain? The reason given is that it causes mental distress when those consequences aren't what you had in mind. But what if we could act while mentally detaching ourselves from the outcome? I mean, obviously there has to be some consideration of the probable outcome, but if you detach yourself from the actual effects and just focus on what you can be doing, that might be an ideal situation. It's like this, right? Volunteering to give out food may not solve world hunger. It may not solve all the hunger in your community. Heck, even if you show up to hand out food and no one else shows up, there's something to be said about your action regardless. You chose to make the conscious choice to work towards a noble goal. Regardless of if that goal was achieved or not, you had the right intentions and you acted on the basis of those good intentions. You have the right to work, but never to the fruit of work. You should never engage in action for the sake of reward, nor should you long for inaction. Perform work in this world, Arjuna, as a man established within himself, without selfish attachments, and alike in success and defeat. Now there are some Hindu-specific reasons behind this, such as its relation to karma, but I think we could easily apply this to Stoicism as well. Yes, you don't have control over the external world, but you do have control over your actions. You could still act motivated by justice. Will you achieve that justice? Maybe, maybe not. But if you emotionally detach yourself from the overall result, but just focus on what you can do, you can be a virtuous person while still maintaining that mental tranquility that Stoicism offers. But what do you guys think? If you're a fan of Stoicism, does this help you bridge that gap between lack of control and virtuous action? If you're interested in the religion and philosophy behind Hinduism, does the Stoic mindset complement these beliefs? Whatever the case, be sure to comment below, subscribe, and like the video. I'll have more philosophy videos on the way, and I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day.